Hey, welcome to Bears Banter. My name is Bernard Muhammad. Tonight on the program, we have Jay Beasley, Guy Moore, Keith Flournoy, and Tammy Harris. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Good. How you?
Good. I'm doing real good.
You, bro?
I'm doing real good. I'm out here trying to enjoy the weather. You know, Chicago, we get summer probably lasts about 3 weeks. So
right.
We just had a week last week, so we got this week coming up, and it's gonna be over in another week.
Right. But it's nice out here tonight. I had to follow you when I logged on, and Bernard was sitting outside. I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna sit outside too. It's actually, this breeze is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Pretty good. Yeah,
that's a good look for y'all.
Get a little more summertime this year because you got the summer in June, so y'all still got July and August. It's gonna be y'all gonna get a little bit more summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you said I might not be light skinned by the end of the summer?
You think summer, this purgatory, man.
Hey, as Chicago Bears, I know we have a new coach and GM this year, and there's a whole lot of speculation that's going on since the last time we had our last show, and every day, even on the Facebook page. We have a lot of people who are speculating like what might happen, what kind of season they're going to have. I know Mark Chin, Mark was supposed to come on tonight, but he may not be able to make it. And Christian Jones I know they do a lot of, trying to figure out what may happen this season. And some of the other Facebook groups I'm seeing, I see both sides of it where some people, they're kind of like, this season going to suck, or they're trying to figure out what's going on. So we was just talking about the Bears had got a fine recently for hitting in practice. Hey, Jay, is that unusual for a new coach to have a situation like that?
No, it's not unusual for a new coach because he's never been a head coach before. So his whole thing is he's just trying to gather his troops and let them know where he stands as a head coach. That he ain't taking no fluff and go hard on every play. And that's his thing. He got this acronym HITS and he's just trying to instill in his players like what he's gonna take and what he's not gonna take. And I think it's gonna be okay. Them being fined and that taking away a week, a day of OTL or whatever it was they took from them. That ain't no big deal because they've been working ever since he got hired. So for them to take away this one, this one practice, and not to mention that guys are working out on their own and they working out together collaboratively. So it ain't no big deal, but it's not unusual because if I'm not mistaken, he ain't the only first year head coach this year that actually got fined for. Yeah, I think
two other coaches did. Yeah.
Yeah, that got fined for excessively going at it in practice. So it ain't a big deal.
Okay. Hey, Guy, what do you think what's the benefit of him getting in a little hit right now? Was there any benefit to it?
Hey, get a little. You talk about getting a little hit in. Yeah. See, you know what? Well, what happens is it's more so OTAs. It's like a walkthrough. So basically, as we were talking about, I know a couple guys are trying to speculate who's going to start. Why Tevin Jenkins go to the second team? They're checking combinations because if you look at it, they're running a zone offense now. So it's a totally different ball of wax now. So they try to see guys who can get out on the block. They try to see guys who can contain. They're going to see who's the real guys. But what I really like about what they've done so far is you aren't penalized for being a rookie. As y'all can see, they had a couple rookies starting on the first day. And that's what you want, so you can see what you have. I mean, they out here penalizing these guys for extra practice. What they going to do, snatch their shorts down, something like that, and have guys moon cameras or whatever. I think things happen. It's not a big deal, $150,000 or something like that. But I think it's a really good deal. That's a chance you take because you got to think we're changing our offensive scheme. We're going to a 4-3 defense. And you got some guys left over, but you got some new pieces in here. And he needs to put guys together in different combinations to see what's what. I ain't got a problem with it. I just can't pay him, though.
Okay. We're looking at the Bears. I think minicamp is going to start, in a few weeks from here. And
27th or 28th of July, I believe.
Okay, so we got a few weeks before minicamp. So what I wanted to look at right now is look at some of the rookies that we draft this year, and also I wanted to look at a few of the players that we drafted last year to see like what kind of progress that those guys from opinion that we can see from afar or how they're going to play into the role this year, because this is the perfect opportunity for those guys that were drafted last year. Last year in the draft that we had,
Oh, that's his GQ pose where he freeze for a second,
He
and
does
then
that
he
all
pop
the
back
time.
in the
Like
picture. Then it's gonna probably be another Bernard over by you, Plank.
we
There he
can
is.
never have too many Bernards. That's all right.
Yes,
Right.
hey, more than one is fine with me, man.
He's just trying to get
Yeah.
everything
You know
his
what though? To
profile in.
Bernard's point when he was talking about hitting before practice, one of the teams that does that pretty frequently is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
Where'd
They
they
getting
get
all
them?
kind of hittens and everything, and by the end of the year, by the beginning of the year, are they ready to play? You always see that, and juxtaposition that versus what Maggie did. Maggie had a lot of games where he didn't even play most of his starters. So you had guys that had no way of getting ready for the actual season, and they go out
Right.
there thinking this is a walkthrough and
Right.
start getting hit in the mouth. So,
Right. It's the real deal.
But where does that whole thing with Baltimore get them? Usually in the playoffs or go and get a chip. So,
well, ain't nobody running us to tell Baltimore that they own you.
but
You
then
ain't heard
also,
nobody in the NFL ever say that. So,
That's
but
true.
you notice even with Ray Lewis and your boy Reed, brother Reed, even the teams that didn't have him on there, you ever notice whether they run a ball, wherever the ball lands, it's always like about 3 or 4 dudes there. You know what I'm saying? So if that's a culmination or a product of them hitting early, man, y'all need to start hitting right now. Y'all just go run into some walls in your dorms right now. You know what I'm saying?
And then
yeah,
when they use the term hitting, these guys ain't really hitting. I mean, the NFL Players Association want to use the word hitting, but they ain't really
right.
hitting.
Right.
They're just kind of going full speed, so to speak. So it's not a big deal, but I like it because everybody needs to get acclimated to what needs to happen. We have already been predicted to be the worst team in the league. I've heard over the last couple of days, actually on 670 the score, how they was talking about the roster, whose roster is the worst, and they
Right.
talking about the Bears roster, and I'm just like, okay, I ain't trying to be a homer, but at the same time, I still look at Detroit roster, we better than them. I still look
Right.
at Houston roster, we better than them. I still
Yep.
look at the Jets roster, we better than them. I still look at, quiet as it's kept, Miami's roster. They got Tyreek Hill, but their roster still is not that good. So, for them to say the Bears are going to be the 32nd ranked team in the NFL, I'm not buying that.
Well,
I'm
about
just not
this
buying it.
time of the year, you see a lot of people starting to talk about hyperbole. You heard Tyreek Hill talking about Tua is so much better as a quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
Come
I
on,
said,
man.
dude, really?
Come on, man.
In practice?
Come
Is
on,
that what
man.
you're looking at?
I
It's the
don't give a damn.
politically correct thing to say. Oh, my quarterback, because all he doing that because he making sure his quarterback get him some balls.
Look, you don't have to go that far. After a
You don't.
while, people like, really, dude?
You're
You
right.
just,
You
you
know
just,
what? I'm gonna tell you something that's interesting, man, about this whole thing. It's a lot of people picking us to be real bad, but I want you guys out there, as well as you guys if you choose to too, go look at Indianapolis Colts roster from last year and look at our roster. And just looking at rosters, do you think the Colts roster was better than ours? Honestly, not even. It wasn't even better than ours, but they ended up 9-8. So
Well,
think about it. We've got a better team. I mean, if we go by rosters, the 72-10 Chicago Bulls should have been 81-80. I mean, it should have been 41-41.
all I know is the bottom line is you can't predict nothing until they snap the ball. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just my thing.
Right.
Every fan of every 32 NFL teams think their team is going to the Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
Tammy, I know you
And that's how
when
you're
you're
supposed to be.
driving. Yeah, Tammy, I know you're driving and everything, but I think you with your fan base, we got quite a few people that are waiting to hear your voice. So why don't you go ahead and interject so people can hear your voice and I can get these people off my back a little bit.
First thing, y'all.
So just as far as what I think about the season, I mean, I'm kind of with y'all. I don't really think that you can predict until we see what we got. Because in some cases, we don't know what we got yet because it ain't been on the field. And it certainly hasn't been on the field together in this unit. And sometimes when you put a unit together, you can be surprised at what they can accomplish if they can actually learn to function as a team. So while I am not necessarily optimistic, I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful, for my Bears. But I mean, realistically, no, I mean, anything can happen any given Sunday. It's not like I expect a Super Bowl or anything. I definitely don't think we're gonna be the worst team. But I'm hoping that we're gonna be better than some people thinking, and that some of the pieces that we have actually gel. And if that can happen, I mean, football is a team sport. So until you see that unit actually working together as a team, you don't know what they can accomplish.
100% true. You know what this is? I'm going to tell you what's interesting is the way I look at sports, professional sports, is this. You can look at the player that doesn't start that's at the other end of the bench. You can look at the Hall of Famer. And between those guys, to be quite frank, with the actual talent that they have, it's about like this on a professional level. We're not talking about like from college to professional. We're talking about pros. Those guys who supposedly suck that on rosters, you send them over to that, what is it, USFL, ABCDEFG thing or whatever it is, and they would be in that particular thing's Hall of Fame. It's like micro fractures. There's certain things. There's two things that I'm looking at. One, they were talking about Justin Fields. What they did is they shortened his release, which is going to serve him well. And they say that the guy's absorbing the book. They say he knows the plays, so he's going into the huddle, not only calling the plays, telling guys, okay, this, that, and third. That's encouraging. One. The second thing I want to see, for me, it's not as much. I would love to see him go to the playoffs. I would love to see him go far, but I want to see those incremental steps. Now, when they're on defense and guys are with the new 4-3 that they got in, I want to see how many guys get to the ball. Are guys punching and stripping the ball? Because if they're doing it every time, that's probably about maybe 5 or 6 more turnovers, which if you think about it, last year with some of the games that we lost, we were like maybe a turnover away from winning. I just want to see some incremental gains. I'm not looking at Cincinnati situation where they sucked and now they're in the Super Bowl. I just want to see if I can look at the end of the season and just say they ended up 8-9. If I saw improvement, I'm happy.
Bernard's back.
He's back and still black.
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm gonna have to fix my light and stuff. I don't know what happened. My internet connection just went out, so I had to go to my phone. So
you had too much electricity like Thor, man. That's what happened.
But you know what? For me, this year, I'm not really worried about, because guys play defense.
Yeah,
guys play defense. Defense is, if you got ballers on defense, guys play defense. Yeah. My thing is, what are the steps that the offense is going to take? What is Luke Getsy going to bring to this offense with the weapons that Foles has provided Justin Fields with? They go into this what they call it, this run, the running scheme.
This RPO zone run offense, like zone.
Yeah, they go with this zone scheme on offense, and what that is, it's all about linemen getting to the second level. If you can get to the second level, it opens up holes. That means hit who's in front of you, shed that block, and get to the second level. Mm-hmm. We got running backs, because Herbert is okay. So we got running backs that can get to the second level, and that's what I want to see. I just want to see what this offense is going to look like. It's not going to be this Nagy thing where he's doing whatever he's thinking in his mind is going to work. Getsy, I'm hoping, is going to call plays that's going to make the players that he has successful on the field. And that's all I'm looking for. That's all I'm looking
for. He was fifth in RPOs with Getsy with Green Bay. So if you look at a 4-3 quarterback, he's got a cannon for an arm. He ain't scared to run the ball. And I'm not trying to compare him to Aaron Rodgers, but I could probably be Aaron Rodgers in a foot race. But you got a commodity. You got a guy, you shorten his throwing motion, which he's actually taken to like, a horse to water. It looks like he's doing pretty good with that. He's got the wheels. He's somewhat running a similar type of offense now as he did in Ohio State. So sometimes with that familiarity, there's certain times where you already know, Jay, like sometimes you have a play that's a potential to be busted, but from your memory, that particular play, you knew, okay, this guy is leaking out right here. You might be looking this way and just automatically like, bang, it's open. So we'll see, man. We will see.
Well, my point, though, I'm a little bit concerned about both lines. I think those are the weakest points of our team. Offensive line, because they don't have any continuity and you don't know who they're going to be. Hopefully they can shore that up in short order. And defensive line, I have no idea how they're going to get any pass rush. Out of that 4-3, one of the things that you need is an overpowering defensive tackle getting that push every time off the ball. I have no idea who the defensive tackle is, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. As far as the second level with the linebackers and the third levels with the DB, Eddie Jackson, in my opinion, is the weakest DB that we have. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But I hear the rookie's going to be in the slot, though.
I agree, but I think with Eddie Jackson, but I think with Eddie Jackson going back to a 4-3 with a legitimate strong safety in Brisker, I think the secondary probably right now on our defense is the strongest line on our defense right now. Our back end, our third end is probably our strongest right now because you're looking at Gordon, you're looking at Jaden Johnson, and you're looking at Brisker, and you're looking at Eddie Jackson with the guy from last year.
The rookie Thomas, is that Jenkins? No,
Thomas.
Yeah.
You looking at him, and then they just signed another DB that's got a lot. That's had a lot of playing time somewhere else. They brought him on the squad, so our secondary is revamped totally, and I think it's gonna make a lot better for the team. But like you said, Key, I don't know what our defensive line gonna look like. Our offensive line, I really think. Tevin Jenkins gonna wind up at guard. I really do. After looking at all the film and looking at his measurables, he's a guard. He's not. He's a right. He can play right tackle, but he's actually a guard. He got short arms. His footwork. He can play right tackle, but he's better suited for the guard spot. And I think that's where he's gonna wind up at, which is the only spot that's really not solidified outside of the right tackle spot being solidified. But seems like this rookie Braxton Jones is going, 5th round rookie might wind up being in that spot. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Jenkins has a right disposition to be a guard, so I'll take that. Anybody that's going to hit people in the mouth, that's the kind of football I'm going to like anyway. Sorry, guy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Hey, I tell you what. Remember this name. Lucas Patrick. Nasty. You're going to see a whole lot of dudes on defense get poked in their eyes, face mask. You need, just like with every professional sport, as good as you are, you got to have that one goal. And Patrick is our guy. And I'm going to tell you, man, you go back and look at film, he ain't nothing nice. And I think that he's got that veteran presence and he's got that. I think he's going to hold guys accountable. So, Mr. Mustiford, if you anywhere on the offensive line, you miss a block, you going to get tackled by your own player.
No, I want to see him on the clipboard.
He's another one. And he's another one with Kilda Vendor. I don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. I really don't.
He's going to get us Bears.
Because that kid from U of I, and I can't call his name right now.
He looks decent.
He's a dog. And he plays guard and center. So I think Mustafur's job is on the line. They signed him to a 1-year tender, but that ain't no whole lot of guaranteed money. So if they wind up waiving him, I wouldn't be surprised because the rookie class that the Bears brought in, for him to go from 5 picks to 11 or 6 picks to 11 or something like that. Those guys are hungry, and we see it in Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones Bryce, if you watch the film on this kid from Utah State,
Yeah.
you like, okay, why did he drop to the 5th round? Why did he drop that far?
Because he played for Southern Utah. I didn't know that Utah had a South.
You know what?
Right,
And,
right,
and a whole
right.
nother thing too that I wanted to kind of bring to some people's attention. And Jay, you guys play college football. You ever have a guy that was just amped? He was really good, but he's playing. The coach pull him over and say, "Look, man, slow down. You're going too fast." Those are kind of guys, if they got the skill set, when they get to the pros, now they like ducks to walk. And that's why I think this offensive lineman, this 5th round guy is, man. He was a guy that you see him in college. He may have played too fast. He may have slowed down a little bit to kind of make a cohesion situation with his teammates. Now it's like a lot of people looking like, where'd he come from? He probably always had it, but he was probably harnessed. But I'm very, very excited about the rookie class that we got. Like I said, I'm not expecting any miracles, but if them boys end up doing pretty nice, gonna be a whole lot of mad GMs and some very happy Bears fans.
Yeah, I'm actually excited for the future for the Bears offensive line because they drafted 5 offensive linemen in this draft, and I'm excited for if they don't pan out this year because they were all late round picks. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the future for the Bears offensive line. I really am.
Hey, Tammy, I got a question for you. What are you looking for this year from the Chicago Bears? What would make you happy? I know, of course, winning the Super Bowl, but is there anything like something small would make you happy? What improvements would you like to see? And even if they were minimal, something that would kind of make you happy? Besides piping your music over at Soldier Field, which would be perfect.
Okay. What would make me happy? Beating Green Bay twice.
Beating them up.
That'll make me happy.
That would make me happy. Seeing Justin Fields develop and be protected so that this is not another wasted season for him. And what's the third thing that would make me happy? I mean, I expect it to be a rough season, so I don't really have my hopes up too high. So just being realistic. Okay, even if we just split with Green Bay, I'd be ecstatic if we, beat them both times, but at least split with Green Bay, have Justin Fields develop and get him the protection that he needs, and get our defense was solid last year, but because y'all know I'm not happy about certain things that happened on the defense. The defense maintaining at least their level of where they were somehow, like they find the right pieces or develop the right pieces to replace what they got rid of that I think they should have kept.
Well, the way I look at this season is, like I said, they haven't played a snap. But looking at the schedule,
right, that doesn't look that bad.
The schedule ain't that bad. The schedule's not that bad. So
yeah, but getting a good record off a super easy schedule in one of the weakest divisions is not a big thing. That's why they got to at least beat Green Bay to have some credibility.
Well, I'm upset about last year because I was sick of seeing a bunch of defensive backs that ran a 60-meter dash, but they only ran 55 meters. So I very least would like to see the DBs in the play when you're playing the replays, even if they give up a touchdown. That would be fine for me. As far as what the record we're facing, the other teams that we're facing, that is not intimidating at all. They're picking us to be the last and the worst, and I'm like, these guys are not world beaters. The Jets? Really? When was the last time the Jets were good? When Joe Namath was a quarterback? Or
I'll say at least Kenny O'Brien.
Mark Gastineau.
Maybe
who's my guy quarterback? Chad Pennington.
Chad Pennington. Right.
But you're looking at the Jets, the Giants, the Washington Commanders, Detroit twice, split with Minnesota, Atlanta, who's not very good. We got to play Houston.
Don't we have Pittsburgh this year too?
I don't think so.
No. We had them last year. We got the
Oh, okay,
AFC.
that's right. Yeah.
We got, I believe it's the AFC North that we. I'm sorry, the AFC Central
Okay.
that we have. Off the top of my head, but no, I'm sorry, no, it's the AFC East because we play Buffalo, the Jets, the Patriots, and whoever else is in that division. So, but looking at that, like, okay,
Yeah.
we play New England in New England. We kind of know how that's gonna go.
That's cool.
They still got Mac Jones at quarterback, right?
Say it again.
New England still got Mac Jones at quarterback, right?
And I totally agree with you, Frank. I totally agree.
Okay.
I totally agree. We play Buffalo on Christmas Eve at Soldier Field. But we play the Jets and Miami. We play Miami. Do Miami scare me? Not really. Just because
Miami, right?
Because Tua is their quarterback. So looking at the record, if the Bears could beat any, and I still say, if the Bears could beat anything on offense, that's what this is all about. This ain't about the defense. This ain't about the special teams. Can the Bears and Justin Fields and Luke Getsy put a team on the field that can score 24 points? That's
the only
it.
thing that scared me about Miami was Fitzpatrick, and he retired.
And he retired.
Hey, with that note,
wait. I'll disagree with you. If we get an offense that can score 24 points, but we have a defense that gives up 27 or 30, that ain't no good. So defense is still important. Y'all know I'm a defensive girl. So.
But because we have a defensive-minded coach, our defense will not give up 27 points a game. I can't see that. I can't see that.
I like to apologize to the viewers out there that I'm sorry I have been having technical difficulties the whole show. I had to switch over to my phone. For some reason I'm not getting internet connection, but I'd like to thank those who are watching us out tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV. Hey, that's a very good point about the defense. I'm thinking, when you have a defensive-minded coach, a lot of times that becomes an automatic at times that the issue is not going to be the defense. A lot of times what defensive coaches, when they become head coaches, is
Lovie Smith
getting the offense that works.
Lovie Smith.
Yeah, but we had a defensive-minded coach. I'm trying to remember the years that the Bears defense was the worst. We had a defensive-minded coach, and the defense was in the toilet.
Well, but when they was at their worst, that's when Trestman was the head coach.
Because that was
John Fox.
That was what was the guy at Michigan State right now? Who's the head coach?
Right.
Mel Tucker.
Mel
Yeah.
Tucker. Yeah,
Mel Tucker was the defensive coach.
Giving up 55 burgers back to back. That's what Trestman was the head coach. Anytime you got to look at Lovie Smith. Look at Lovie Smith's years with the Bears. The defense was always good. He just never really had an offense that can put points on the board. And Ron Turner was about the best thing that they had, but at that time they had a bad offensive line and a pretty decent quarterback, and then they had a pretty decent quarterback with no wide receiver. So anytime you got a defensive line-minded coach, your defense is going to be okay.
One of the things that even the owner talked about is that the first game last year, the defense let a guy catch the ball, and then he got up and ran it for a touchdown, untouched. Last game, they did the same mistake. So that meant the defense wasn't out hustling. They weren't getting to the ball. They weren't paying attention to detail. That's exactly what Matt Eberflus is going to address. If nothing else, he wants to make sure everybody's out there. It's really impressive to me that when the players they say everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing versus playing out there for the other Matt that they didn't have any idea what they were doing.
They didn't know what was going on.
What their names were. So,
but you know what though, what I like to see, and I think that what he's bringing too, I think he's bringing more speed, man. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you think you got a rookie coming out, Justin's out, and you got a dysfunctional coaching set of circumstances. A lot of times he jumped back, and a lot of times he was guessing because, as Plank said, a lot of guys didn't really know where they need to be and what their assignments were. You got the RPO, you got the screens, you got the bubble screen, the jet sweep. But if you can do it fast, If you can execute, you can be a speed team, you can score points in the NFL, because just like Jay always talks about, guys know where the holes are. If everyone knows their position, like I said, if we could get 24 points a game this year, I'm not going to go on any type of predictions, but I think that guys hustling, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think we're going to be as bad as, we ain't going to be the 32nd best team, worst team, or the 32nd team, I don't think. But I think we're going to sneak up on a couple of these good teams this year.
I just think if Getsy play to the players that he got, I could be the offensive coordinator of his team. If you play to the strength of the players that you got, if you play to their strengths, Justin Fields is a drop back, can get out the pocket if he need to. Quarterback, you got a running back in Herbert and Montgomery. You got a wide receiver in Mooney.
And you have a fullback now, too.
You got a fullback.
Oh, my God.
What do we always say? When Nagy was the head coach, it's 3rd and 1 on the 5, and we come out with 5 wides. What is that?
Yeah.
You line up and hit somebody in the mouth, and you get a first down. And I think if Luke Getsy plays to the strengths of the personnel that he has on his team, I think this offense is going to be okay. Byron Pringle had almost 700 yards in a Kansas City offense as the 4th or maybe even the 5th wide receiver. So he can get open.
But I tell you what, if we got a 5 wide, not in that circumstance, but if we run a 5 wide when it's appropriate, with Velus on one side, Mooney on the other side, now you got to make a decision. So it's going to be interesting.
When it's appropriate, it's okay. But if it's supposed to go on the 5 and you come out with 5 wide, which is a lot of times that we did over the last several years, it's almost like, are you kidding me?
We in the center.
I got a question right quick, guys.
What do you got?
I was just looking at something, and the Bears got to find a way. And I wanted to interrupt our conversation for a minute for this short clip.
Wow, Tammy, I need a cigarette now. I need a cigarette.
The Bears got to find a way.
Wait, Tammy, how did you get that guy's glasses to fog up, even being outside? I wasn't sure how that happened.
I get him to fog up. I don't know. I have to ask
glasses started fogging out as soon as you came in the room. So.
First lady, we got questions. Who is that guy, and why was his glasses fogging up?
No interrogation.
The guy name is Che Stephen, and he's a singer down here. I don't know why his glasses was fogging up. I'm not.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah, we know you don't know.
Give us a brief of what's going on with that video. Then we get back to the program. What's going on in the video? I mean, you have a performance coming up or new song release? What's going on?
Both, actually. So that's my new song. It's formally being released tomorrow, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to be on all the digital outlets because of when I submitted it, but it will be on my website, which is www.rootsoulproductions.com. And it'll also be on my Bandcamp page, which is www.bandcamp.com/Tammy Harris. It'll be on those 2 sites for sure. And shortly it'll be on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, all of those. So that's tomorrow. The video was that was a preview of it. And then I have a show next Saturday. It's at Emory Performing Arts Studio here in Atlanta. It's a tribute to Patrice Rushen, Roberta Flack, and Minnie Riperton. July 9th, 7 p.m., Emory Performing Arts Studio. You can get tickets for that on my website too, or this website called Fresh Chicks.
Okay.
Hot.
Thank you.
Good
That was
job.
Hot.
Good one.
All I need is a
Sorry,
cigarette.
my glass is fogging up.
And I
Sorry.
added it to Eventbrite
My
too.
cigarette need a cigarette.
Some people prefer Eventbrite. I added it to Eventbrite too.
Oh yeah, it's Eventbrite. Okay.
Great.
Hey, so I'm sorry. I know I missed part of the conversation trying to get a connection. I hit the move to my phone, so it's the first time I'm doing a broadcast from my phone. So I'm trying to figure out what some of the features are at, because somehow it looked like I just lost internet connection. But I know offline. I don't know if y'all talked about this when I was offline, but we were talking about the competition with the secondary. And did y'all talk about Thomas Graham Jr., where he may fit in this?
We mentioned his name.
Okay, that's it. Do y'all think he's going to make the roster, or is he going to be what did y'all mention about him?
I think he's gonna make the roster. He's actually in the running to be that to be that slot corner.
The slot guy, yeah.
In the running to be that slot guy. I mentioned Kendall Vildor. I don't think he has a chance to make the roster. I don't think Duke Shelley gonna make the roster because I don't have the roster in front of me. But the Bears have brought in numerous defensive backs with a lot more talent than Kendall Vildor and Duke Shelley. And once again, we got a new regime. Those were not Ryan Poles players. So for him to show them the door means absolutely nothing. But Thomas Graham is definitely in the running for being that starting nickel. He's definitely in the running for being the starting
I
nickel.
also think we might be giving, some of the older players from last year a bad rap because, at the core of it, they were not coached well.
Well,
So a lot of times the coaches didn't tell them what position to be in, what their responsibility was. You'd be amazed at how good coaches make everybody look better. So I'm liking the idea that they got a new defensive coordinator, that they've got new secondary coaches and everything. That's going to make it a little bit more competitive just by knowing and have an idea of where you're supposed to be on every play.
Well, I'm just thinking about pure talent. I'm thinking about pure talent.
That helps too.
Kendall Vildor to me is not talented. Duke Shelley is not talented. So because talent makes up for not where you're supposed to be. You can be a defensive back. I've seen a lot of defensive backs be able to recover with after they made a mistake. And these guys, they can make a mistake, and a mistake is a mistake. They can't recover. So I'm just looking at talent as well. So
you know what?
I mean, we'll see what happens.
And you know what, too? A glaring thing, yes, and I can't get this out of my head, man. We played Green Bay, fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers drops back, and I would swear on everything I love, he had 10 seconds to throw this ball. He throws a bomb. The guy catches the ball, and Kendall Vildor is probably almost 10 yards away from this guy. I don't care what you say about talent or that guy. I think that just even if he came in, they probably like, but just like you said, man, I think a lot of times I've had a chance to go look at some of the games and different things and things that I've also realized, which is I say I give a couple guys a chance, and I know they make $11 million. But on some plays, what some guys do is some guys, I think they want to do so well. If someone else gets beat, they're trying to overcompensate. But then, like with our guy Tito, you the last option. And if you get beat, but I'm willing to give guys a chance. But Kendall Vildor, I think Kendall Vildor probably is gonna be an accountant within the next 3 months.
But I'm gonna tell y'all real quick. Eddie Jackson gonna have a bounce back year.
He gonna have to.
He got to.
Stealing money.
This defense right here is for what Eddie Jackson do. He's gonna have a bounce back year. And he's been, making business decisions not to make tackles and all that. But this year, Eddie Jackson's gonna have a bounce back year. I just think because of the change of the defense, he's gonna have a bounce back year.
Fingers crossed.
Bernard, tell Gallo not to give us accountants a bad rap and give us
Exactly.
No, well, you know what? What I'm gonna do now? See, but I was smart enough to say accountants because if he becomes an accountant, I'll make sure he come work with you, and you could teach him some stuff. He may not respond, but okay, I'm sorry, I take it back. Okay, how about a horticulturist? He can grow some plants, you know. I'm sure he can get a license, you know. It doesn't necessarily. Well, anyway.
Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard a rumor that the Bears coach and the general manager are both going to now start going by their middle name because they don't want to have anything to do with Matt.
With Ryan and Matt.
Matt and Ryan no more. I think his middle name is like Jerome or something like that, and Philip. So we gotta get used to that too, because I'm a little bit tired of the references to those same old guys.
Plug 1 and plug 2.
There you go.
Please hit if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button down at the bottom and subscribe to Bears Banter. Hey, Jay, earlier you mentioned Pringle, and I know Pringle had a incident in the offseason. As I'm trying to remember the incident where I think he was doing donuts with his son in a car, and you know, he's a young guy. You know, people do things that's not smart when you're younger. But the press conference he did afterward, did y'all see the press conference or the statement that he made in reference to that, where he indicated that I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but it was more of like he dismissed it like it wasn't anything at all.
It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah, that's how he dismissed it. But you know, that's a guy just being a young guy. You know, the bottom line is the laws are the laws, and you still need to uphold the law. But you just can't do donuts in the car with your kid and don't expect nobody to say nothing. You know, the linebacker.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah. The linebacker who just got caught last week with the gun. I can't call his name right now. His name is
Morrow. M-O-R-R-O-W.
No, not Morrison. It was my God, the linebacker. That just came over from Indianapolis. He got caught with the gun, and it wasn't a thing where he didn't have a permit for the gun, but he traveled outside of Indiana. Now he's in Illinois, and his permit don't allow him to carry in Illinois.
There was some mentioned that it was a stolen car as well. So
it wound up being called in as a stolen car. And he told the police, like, "Hey, this is my car," and they confirmed that it was his car, which is when they found the gun. And then he had like the armor-piercing bullets, and so he had the magazine that was illegal, and all these things. But it's all these young people, man. They are, you know, they glorify this type of stuff. Right. You know,
I gotta say it. The names are going to be changed. Oh, I'm sorry. The names are going to be changed to protect the guilty. You standing outside of Dunkin' Donuts, you getting 3 donuts for $1, and it's a deal. You got a guy that's mad because his donut was all messed up. He didn't like his donut, and they wouldn't take his money back. So you tell some of your friends to go up to Dunkin' Donuts and tell them how you feel. But you know what? They got a metal detector in there to make sure that you don't bring nothing, no type of change, just dollars. But this guy decides that, hey, we're going to take that metal detector out because people can get in there faster. And they get in there and they wreck the Dunkin' Donuts, and all of their friends with them don't think they did nothing wrong. Now, was Brian Pringle wrong for doing donuts? Yes. Was this other brother wrong for having artillery? Yeah. But after that Dunkin' Donut deal at the first part of the year in a very low number, and a certain year when we saw certain things, I'm kind of disguising this to sort of like anybody not getting dinged for, but I think y'all know where I'm coming from. After that, if a dude want to pop a wheelie butt naked with a clown mask and a red plastic gun down Michigan Avenue, I don't care. It's not a problem.
I got a headache.
Man, I'm just trying to find out where I could get three donuts for $1.
I just want them to get all their stuff out the way before the season started. You know, Dakota,
Yeah.
Dakota Dozier, he went on the IR, which is when they signed this. And I just actually pulled this up because I did want to mention it. They signed this Jason Stanley, defensive back, that they signed him once Dakota Dozier went on the IR. So, you know, as Plank said earlier, to me, our biggest dilemma right now is our offensive line and our defensive line. And I think what's going to happen with our offensive line is they're going to get in practice once they put the pads on, and they're going to get the 5 best people who can move some people out the way. And then that's who's going to start on this offensive line. Braxton Jones, it's an article on it's an article on the Bears website today. They saying that he's predicted to be the starting tackle for our season opener. So I don't know if that means Tevin Jenkins is actually going to be kicked the right guard, but I just think what's going to happen is they're going to find the best 5 people that can block somebody, and they're going to go with that.
Yeah, because games in the NFL are won and lost in the trenches.
In the trenches,
you can have all the skill players you want, receiver, quarterback, but if you can't block or you can't protect, if the guys on the defense can't stop the run or get to the quarterback, no matter how good your linebackers and corners and safety are, that's where those games are lost at. But you know, when you mentioned Pringle, I'm thinking about the competition at receiver that the Bears have, and I think that's one of the criticisms that on national broadcasts and other local broadcasts is the concern about the help for a receiver. What I have not heard this year at all is how does Dez Newsome fit in this mix? I know last year he
might not even make it.
Right.
You think he's going to be cut?
I don't know if he's going to be cut. But, you know, with Pringle, Amanquius, if I'm pronouncing his name right, Amanquius St. Brown, they signed their kid Dante Pettis. It was another kid that they signed off of Kansas City practice squad. They got some competition at wide receivers. I don't know if Dante, and plus I can't call his name. He was a punt returner last year, and he appeared in a few games. Webster,
yeah.
Webster. So it's some competition in the room. It ain't no big names, but to me, if you got an offense they can pass the ball and spread it around, the names will become big when they start making catches. And like I said, Byron Pringle made a name for himself in the Kansas City offense where he was like the 4th or 5th option. So I'm not really worried like the pros or the quote unquote big wigs as far as the wide receiver room. I'm not really worried about that. I'm not really worried about it.
If we're the worst wide receivers in the league, then we got nowhere to go but up.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's Equanimous St. Brown, who's the older brother of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was wrong with them? What's wrong with the St. Brown parents, man? I just have a conversation.
Hey, one of the funniest names I ever heard in sports. One of the funniest names I ever heard in sports is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nobody knew it, but a couple years.
There you go.
What about the Brickenshaw Ferguson?
The Brickenshaw Ferguson.
Hey, but if you catch the ball, you get some yaks, and you start getting yards, people gonna find you.
Because the bottom line is, I don't care what your name is. Just catch the ball and run. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. You ain't got to be DK Metcalf. You ain't got to be Odell Beckham. You ain't got to be Cooper Kupp. If you can catch the ball and get a first down, that's all I care about. That's all I care about. And I think with this group that of unknown wide receivers, which is what the analysts are going on, like, oh, my God, he ain't got no weapons. Well, we don't know because, again, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, we ain't played a snap yet, so we don't know who is who.
That's right, Jay. And you look at some of the problems that the Bears had last year. It was poor offense design as far as route running and scheming guys open. And I guess the amazing thing about that was it was a big turnaround from Nagy's first year where you actually seen people running wide open. You know, it was times that first year you was like, how did that guy get that wide open? To the last 3 years where you're laughing at these route combinations. And so we know if you use teams like the Patriots and all teams like that, if you have good play designs, your receivers should get open.
And part of the problem though was Nagy went from a route tree to a route stick.
Yep. Allen Robinson was coming off a torn ACL in 2018, his first year with the Bears? Yep. 2018, this dude was running down the field wide open. I used to sit in Soldier Field and tell the guy next to me, his name is Phil. Hey, Phil, I know you probably ain't watching the broadcast. Him and his wife. I used to tell Phil, I was like, hey, watch Allen Robinson. He used to scheme him open. And this dude wasn't even 100% coming off a knee injury. He was wide open. I don't know what happened with Nagy. What happened to the center slay? All that stuff that he used to do, all that creative stuff that he did on offense, but that's what happens when people become successful. People have to watch success because success can be detrimental to a lot of people. Matt Nagy was coach of the year his first year. Ryan Pace, he was coach of the year. Executive of the year or GM of the year, whatever it was. But what happens is when you gather those accolades, you pretend you all of a sudden become this person that you're really not. And it's like, okay, now I got to be better than what I was. No, you ain't got to be better. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. And
I just want to remind y'all something.
When you don't keep doing what you're doing, you wind up not having a job.
I just want to remind y'all something because every time y'all talk about Matt Nagy's first year, y'all talk about the offense like it was so great, and y'all have this nostalgia of non-reality of what actually happened.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. If you remember, the offense still only averaged like 16 points. They won because the defense was scoring and special teams was scoring. That's why we won. It's not because he did such a great job with the offense.
It was about the creativity. It wasn't about
it
was about the creativity. 36 turnovers. 36 turnovers by defense in one season. It'll probably never happen again. They had 36 turnovers. But the bottom line is, when you have a short field on offense and you get creative,
and you still don't score. So.
But you weren't scoring back then.
They averaged 16 points. They averaged 16 points, the same thing pretty much that they averaged last year. So what did that creativity get you if it didn't turn into points?
It got you a 12-4 record. That's what it got you.
The defense and special teams got you that.
No, Tammy, they did
because without defense and special teams, they wouldn't have had their record.
Yeah, Tammy, what I was pointing out specifically is route design. That year, the Bears had receivers that was running wide open. That's the specific point I was trying to make. That guys were so wide open. Now, there was times when they was wide open, and Mitch overthrew them at times. And Mitch left a lot of points on the, left a lot of points out there in that year, too, from just being inaccurate. But the point I was making was that receiving core was getting easy passes to them because the route design was much better than it was the previous years, the years after that. That was my point, that they, if you design a good route combinations, receivers should get some separation because everything is in the receiver's favor. Everything is in their favor.
Do y'all remember Taylor Gabriel? Just go back to the 2018 season. The 2018 season was like stupid bananas. This dude was running. He was running down the field wide open by himself on a lot of plays, and it was like, oh my God, this dude is wide open. Just throw him the ball. So it had nothing to do with how many points the offense scored, Tammy. It was all about them being able to put points on the board on a short field created by your defense. They was putting points on them.
We gonna agree that
this
on it don't matter if you score points, though.
They won 12 games.
You know what?
It's kind of important.
Because of the defense and special teams.
No, their offense played a role that year. Matter of fact, I want to say
they didn't play a role.
their offense wasn't great, but their offense was not a bottom 30 offense as well.
It wouldn't happen.
Tammy, go back and look at the 2018 season.
You need to go back and look, because I know they averaged 16 points.
Mr. Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns in a game on a from short fields. All I'm saying is, the offense, the creativity of the offense was a hell of a lot better in 2018 than we saw in 2019, 2020, and 2021. That's all I'm saying.
I see that, but it still didn't result in enough points.
It did result in enough points. It resulted in enough points because they were 12-4. If they was losing games
and special teams in that season, the defense wasn't scoring, and special teams they got the field goals, but the defense was not. The defense was basically averaging a touchdown. That's why that is a big part of why they were winning. I
think the Bears were averaging. I don't have it in front of me. I think the Bears was averaging about 26 points.
Let me see.
A game
I think it was 26 points a game.
It was about 26 points a game.
Y'all break it down between the offense and defense. That's what y'all always do.
No. If you let me finish my point, they was averaging about 26 points a game. The Bears offense scored some of those points because they got short fields. They were not like scoring 16 every game. Offense, it was times where they had less than 20 yards, but they still scored an offensive score after that. But you had to get a defense credit because they gave them short fields. But what you had the years after that was you had Bears teams having short fields that could even convert a field goal because they could even get 7 to 8 yards to just get in field goal range. You had guys that could not get open. So it was a little different. We just point to a design. Some of that stuff was because Mitch Trubisky was not an accurate quarterback. He was overthrowing a lot of people. And the ironic thing was he ended up being a Pro Bowl alternate that year. So he must have played good enough to still be a Pro Bowl alternate.
The Bears were ranked 21st.
The biggest difference between the Bears in 2018 and 2019 is they got rid of Jordan Howard. He was one player that was actually able to get the tough yards that you could just give him the balls in a short field, and he turned that into points. So, with all of this missionary zeal to get rid of that guy, that was one of the dumber moves that they ever made. And actually, that was the beginning of the end for the Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace era.
And you also got to remember we had a healthy Tariq. Get that little Cohen.
We did.
Because he was that dude. He was that little dude, man. It was like he get the ball. But you know what? I've got this issue, man, and I'm just hoping that I can cure it, man, because I keep thinking about that song, Oh Sheila. Like every time I think about it, it's like a player like ready for the curl. Because every time I see all the curls that they ran, if they could just get rid of that and get this song out of my head. Because every time they go 4 or 5 wide and everybody running curls, I keep hearing that song in my head. I think I'm going to need therapy, man.
The Bears offense in 2018 ranked 21st in the NFL. So that's not even
How many teams in the NFL? 32?
They ranked 21st, and they averaged 343 yards a game on offense. So
that's kind of average, right?
It's 21st. What you mean that's average? That ain't even above average. That's average at best.
Yeah,
average at best. So,
what did the defense give up?
Let's see. What the Bears defense gave. The Bears defense was ranked 8th that year. They was ranked 8th in the NFL. So you got an 8th ranked defense in a 21st ranked offense. Guess what? You got a 12th.
So you average it out, that means they were 14th in the league.
14th in the league, pretty much.
A lot of things has got to happen though, because we talked about this last year, man, and it's not, it's not disagreeing with anybody, But the defense did put the offense in some great circumstances. And it wasn't always necessarily that the fact that, with the defense, it was where they were getting turnovers, how they were getting turnovers. And of course, our yards were low because they were actually able to control some things and put us in great circumstances. And like I said, you got a little Tariq Cohen. They can't figure him out because they can't see him any too fast. Mitch missed a lot of things. But, I mean, it does go hand in hand. But the offenses, guys were getting loose. They were getting loose, but it's just weird to me, man. It's like the offense is almost the same as it was, but we had some really nice breaks and circumstances, which is why I was getting into that whole thing. If everybody in the secondary are tackling balls and starting to punch with everyone, and we get 5 turnovers, that could be 2 or 3 more wins. But I'm just playing devil's advocate.
And just think the Bears scored 26.3 points a game that year. And you know where that ranked in the NFL? And they went 12-4 and didn't even get out the first round of the playoffs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was like 11th. They ranked 11th in points scored in the NFL that year. And still didn't make it out the first round of the playoffs.
But wasn't Eddie Jackson?
Why you gotta bring that up, man?
Didn't he go to Pro Bowl that year?
Yeah, The Bears had a ton of Pro Bowlers that year. Even Mitch Trubisky went to the Pro Bowl that year. Even Mitch Trubisky. So, but
I know we're going to have to wrap up in a minute. A few minutes. My battery's about to go dead in about 17%. But hey, anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's watching us on YouTube, Twitch TV, and those watching us on Facebook. As we wrap up the discussion about and get ready for Bears Minicamp, there is a newness in the air when you're watching the Bears because we don't know what's going to happen this year. Because this is one of the few times where the Bears may not have officially said it, but we do know the Bears are rebuilding. They not plugging and plugging people in. They're rebuilding. They're just not saying it. Like there's other people in Chicago, some old teams in Chicago and other sports. Maybe they need to consider rebuilding. Because we got a couple of sports teams that's not doing too good. But when you come with rebuilding, the fans, I always say this, in big cities do not want to rebuild because whatever reason it is, big cities do not want to rebuild. But when you don't have championships continue to come your way, I don't understand why you don't rebuild sometimes, right? Because keep plugging in and never making a playoff is not the ideal situation. In big cities, we really believe we should get championships. And when's the last time we had a championship? One Super Bowl in 50 some years.
And the thing about it, people, which is what just makes me so mad. People be like, I just want them to make the playoffs. No, that's still mediocre. That's still mediocre. You win 12 games to make it to the playoffs, you lose the first round. So what? I wound up buying an extra home game ticket. As far as I'm concerned, I bought an extra home game ticket to see y'all lose. I want a perennial winner. And that's what Chicago has just not done. Look at going off script. Look at the Cubs. The Cubs did all that in 2016. They was battling. They finally got to 2016. They won the World Series. Guess what? 2017 and beyond right now, 2022, they garbage.
Well, wait a minute. You think the Cubs want to win every 100 years?
Hey,
all I want is somebody that's gonna be in the playoffs every year. Every year. That's what I want. I want consistency. Not this, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna plug and play, we're gonna get in the playoffs, we're gonna make it to we okay because we made it to the playoffs. Yeah, but y'all lost.
Wait, you want good consistency because we lose consistently.
Hey, what Mike Singletary say? I want winners. I want consistency. Period.
Yeah, but Being upset at rebuilding is just like being 412 pounds on Juneteenth and you mad on Thursday that you don't weigh 178 pounds. It takes time, you know.
Can I get the Bears of the late 80s and early 90s to make the playoffs every year?
Yeah.
Consistently? That's all I want to see. The Bears have not made the playoffs consistently in how many years? One appearance, and then in the next 5 years, we garbage.
A generation.
One appearance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to see a perennial good team. And I'm hoping that this new regime, the way they're starting off, is going to bring that. Because I think this draft class is going to be pretty good for the years to come. And that's all I'm looking for. You know, it sucks as a season ticket holder. It sucks because I know it's games that I'm getting ready to go to that we ain't finna win.
Okay. Hey, Tammy, we got any closing remarks before we close out tonight, Tammy?
Bear down. We'll see what happens this week.
Okay. What about you, Plank? You got any closing?
Let's just start hitting people in the mouth. I can't wait for training camp to start. You're going to see a lot of people falling out, and that's how you know how well your team is doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What about you, Guy?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's all I got.
What you got, Jay?
Like Guy just said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. When you rebuilding, unfortunately, you got to be patient. You got to and hope that your team peak before you think they will. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to minicamp and the preseason games because I want to see Justin Fields get back on the field. I was disappointed, with the injury that he wasn't able to play. Those games where they might have been meaningless games as far as wins and losses, but it would have been good experience for him to play. So with that said, I would like to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, and sorry for the technical difficulties that we had tonight. Peace.